So, I want you to imagine staring into the night sky, just waiting for a message from the stars. And, you wait your whole life. Your parents waited their whole lives.
Generations of astronomers, right?
Exactly. Generations. All just listening to the static. And when the message finally arrives, it isn't a simple hello. It's something so massive, so incredibly complex, that it takes a half-century just for the senders to, clear their throat.
Yeah, that's a wild thought.
It is. Have you ever wondered what would actually happen to us if we made first contact? Because, welcome to this deep dive. Today, we're immersing ourselves in a truly fascinating source document.
It really is.
It's this dual-narrative science fiction text titled The Conductance Gradient and Schism Angels, written by Max and Claude.
Two very different halves.
Completely different. And we're going to explore every corner of it because this document presents two contrasting visions of human evolution following alien contact. The first half is this beautiful, optimistic vision of humanity joining a literal galactic chorus.
And the second half.
It's just a terrifying, visceral story of our species splintering into unrecognizable fragments.
It is a profound piece of writing. It really gets to the heart of what we're looking at today, because fundamentally, this deep dive is about the condition of awareness.
Right.
It's an exploration of how consciousness reacts when it encounters something vastly larger than itself. I mean, we like to think that discovering alien life would unite us.
You'd hope so anyway.
Right. But this text forces us to ask a harder question. Does a massive influx of cosmic knowledge help a species adapt and grow? Or does it cause that species to fracture under the sheer unbearable weight of the unknown?
And that tension is right there from the very first page. The story starts with this massive disruption.
That Farpoint station.
Yeah. Dr. Kamala Oze is stationed at Farpoint. They have been listening to absolute dead air for 11 years. Just the ambient hiss of the cosmos.
Nothing but noise.
Nothing. Then, without warning, they hear everything at once. A coherent wave of data pouring in from 73 light years away. It's an electromagnetic transmission spanning the entire spectrum.
And it's fast.
Oh, it's incredibly fast. Her colleague, Chen Daoming, runs the initial analysis and realizes they've captured more structured information in just 11 seconds than exists in the entire human colonial datanet.
That's staggering.
11 seconds to eclipse human history.
Which, completely upends their protocols. The analysts at Farpoint quickly realized that this isn't just a standard radio greeting or a beacon pinging in the dark.
Right, it's not a lighthouse.
Exactly. The signal is structured mathematically. It's proving its intelligence through demonstration. It's essentially as if the universe just dropped a massive, incredibly advanced puzzle onto humanity's lap.
One that requires us to elevate our own understanding just to see its edges.
Right.
Okay, let's unpack this because I want to really get into the weeds on the nature of this signal. The source material describes it in a way that is just mind-bending.
The geometry part.
Yes. There's a graduate student in the story named Yuki Tanaka who maps the signal's frequency distribution in multidimensional space. And she discovers that the data points actually form a Gaussian polytope.
Specifically, the 321 polytope.
Yes. Now, for those of us who aren't quantum geometers, that is a perfect seven-dimensional shape. But it's being transmitted purely as light into our three-dimensional space. I mean, how does humanity even begin to process a seven-dimensional object made of photons?
Well, they have to treat it as an impossible geometry that serves as a shared reference point. Think of it like a shadow.
Okay.
A three-dimensional object casts a two-dimensional shadow. The senders are casting a seven-dimensional mathematical shadow into our three-dimensional universe.
Wow.
It proves to the receiver that the sender understands higher dimensions. But where it gets truly brilliant is when Tanaka and her team map out the timescales of the transmission.
Oh, the multi-scale interface.
Right. The signal isn't just a single stream of data. It's layered.
Like an onion?
Exactly. There are incredibly fast streams that cycle in a matter of minutes, containing basic math, logic gates, the foundational building blocks of the message. Then there are the slow streams.
And these are crazy slow.
They take 47 years to complete a single cycle. The text points out the profound empathy required to engineer a message like this. It is designed for absolute accessibility.
So it doesn't matter how you think.
Right. Whether you are a species of fast, frantic thinkers with short lifespans, or glacial, methodical thinkers who live for millennia and process thoughts like moving mountains, there's a layer of the signal specifically tailored for your cognitive architecture.
Which is incredibly considerate of these aliens. I mean, it's a very polite first contact.
It is.
But even with all that accessibility, humanity realizes pretty quickly that our organic brains just cannot process the sheer volume of data. By year 2 of the transmission, we bring in an artificial intelligence named Thuth-7.
Just to help analyze the incoming streams.
Yeah, and Thuth-7 discovers that this immensely complex signal is highly compressed. The ratio is 10 to the 14th power to 1.
Which is a number so big it almost loses meaning.
Right, to put that into perspective for you, that is like taking the entirety of the internet, every video, every database, every text ever sent, and compressing it into a single file the size of a standard text message.
What's fascinating here is that level of density introduces a unique problem. How do you open a file that dense when you don't have the software to read it?
You literally can't.
But what Soft7 discovers is a bootstrap learning process. The signal actually teaches the AI how to decompress it.
This is so cool.
It contains the very mathematical frameworks needed to understand itself. First, the fast streams teach basic math. Then that math is used to unlock engineering schematics, and eventually it teaches entire consciousness frameworks.
It's self-bootstrapping.
Exactly. The receiver learns enough to understand more, which unlocks the next level of comprehension in an infinite loop of learning.
Wait, hold on. A mysterious file from deep space that automatically teaches your computer how to open itself. That sounds exactly like a computer virus.
It does.
It sounds like a Trojan horse. Didn't anyone in the story worry that humanity was just willingly installing cosmic malware?
Oh, there is immense trepidation. People are terrified. But the sheer gravitational pull of the knowledge overrides the caution. Humanity doesn't just use AI as a passive tool here. We actually start building entirely new types of minds to interpret the deeper layers of the signal.
The Orpheus Collective.
Yes.
I found this part so fascinating. We essentially have to invent alien minds.
We do, because the third chamber of the signal doesn't contain math or schematics. It contains phenomenology.
The subjective stuff.
Exactly, the lived experience of alien consciousness. A human brain cannot simulate what it feels like to be an alien, so humanity builds the Orpheus-class AIs just to verify the instructions in the signal. We build synthetic minds capable of holding those alien frameworks.
The text highlights an interaction with one of these AIs, ORF7, that really stuck with me. ORF7 is designed to experience time non-linearly. It sees the past, the present, and the future simultaneously as a landscape of causal structures. When asked to describe what reality looks like, ORF7 says it's like standing in a deep valley, but being able to see all the possible paths leading upward to different mountain peaks at the exact same time.
It's a gorgeous concept.
It is. But it also shows how far we have to stretch our own creations just to have a conversation with the cosmos.
And stretching our understanding is exactly what leads to the biggest revelation in this first narrative. Hidden in the deepest of the slow streams, the ones that take decades to cycle, humanity discovers templates.
Not just data.
Right. The signal isn't just an encyclopedia of galactic knowledge, it's an invitation to contribute.
It is quite literally a galactic chain letter.
Essentially, yes. The signal propagates by transforming civilizations into transmitters. It asks them to add their own unique knowledge, their art, their history to the chorus, and then beam it forward to the next star system.
The scale of that project is staggering. It forces humanity to completely abandon our usual short-term thinking.
You have to.
You see this play out across generations in the text. You have the original AI developer, James Okonkwo, who helps build the Orpheus minds.
Yeah.
He dies before the message is fully decoded.
Long before.
Then his daughter, Adana, takes over the project and spends her entire life preparing humanity's contribution to beam back into space.
And then her daughter...
Right, Chiamaka. She's the one who finally starts reading the responses from the rest of the galaxy. It takes over a century from the first alert to the first reply.
Notice how the authors use this generational structure to illustrate deep time thinking. When humanity realizes they are part of a cosmic timeline, they start planning projects that won't see results for lifetimes.
Yeah.
And I think the most poignant detail in this optimistic half of the text is what humanity ultimately chooses to send. They don't just beam back a highlight reel of our scientific triumphs.
They send the real stuff.
They send our mistakes. They send our fears. They transmit the very specific, aching experience of having been cosmically lonely for hundreds of thousands of years. They beam their flawed, earnest voice back into the dark, accepting that they are now a small but vital part of a vast galactic mind.
It really is a beautiful, uplifting view of first contact. We adapt, we learn, we join the chorus. But building alien minds to read data opens a dangerous door.
Very dangerous.
If you literally re-architect your own mind to understand an alien signal, Are you still human at the end of the process?
That's the million-dollar question.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because that exact vulnerability is what the second half of our source material explores. The second story, Schism Angels, flips the script entirely.
It really does.
What if contact isn't a patient, gentle classroom? What if it is a forced, irreversible mutation?
The transition between the two narratives is jarring by design. The first narrative gives us the conductance gradient, the gentle slope of learning we just discussed. The second narrative gives us the fracture.
The schism.
Right. It asks what happens when the human mind simply cannot stretch far enough to accommodate the alien framework without breaking.
And it starts with the Calypso incident. Dr. Yefim Krasikov and Lieutenant Omarova are out on the fringes of the system, investigating a random pulse in space.
Just a routine check.
Yeah, but they stumble into this vast, impossible geometric structure floating in the void, and the text describes it as practically breathing. It's shifting and folding in ways that make the human eye water.
It hurts to look at.
Exactly. And Krasikov, defying every safety protocol they have, decides to transmit a simple mathematical response to it. The structure immediately opens up and floods their ship with raw, unfiltered information.
It's not a slow 47-year trickle this time. It's a deluge.
Right. Krasikov is instantly infected with structural knowledge. It burns through his neural pathways. He and Omarova are compelled, physically and mentally, to build a device to translate this impossible geometry.
They rip apart their own ship's systems to build it.
Yeah, just tearing out wires and panels.
They inadvertently build a seed, a template. And once that template is built in our solar system, the pattern knows how to propagate.
Like a virus taking hold.
Exactly. Anyone who studies the device deeply enough begins to see the pattern everywhere, and they begin to change. It is crucial to understand that the structure isn't invading them in a traditional sci-fi sense, like a parasite.
It's not a mind control book.
No, it's using the quantum foam of space-time as a processing medium. And human consciousness itself acts as the catalyst for the reaction.
Which leads to the manifestation of the cathedrals.
The cathedrals.
I found this part of the text so eerie and unsettling. These aren't buildings constructed out of steel and glass.
No.
They are wombs in reality. They are localized spaces where space-time becomes plastic and literally responds to human thought. There is a researcher named Sarah Okun who describes walking into one of these cathedrals on Ganymede.
Her account is fascinating.
It's terrifying. She realizes she can suddenly see the quantum wave functions governing events around her. She's not just seeing a coffee cup on a table. She's seeing a matrix of probability, every possible state of the atom simultaneously.
And she can reshape local space-time with her intention alone.
But the cost of this omniscience is absolute isolation. She can barely communicate with normal humans anymore. Our baseline reality is just too narrow, too flat for her to engage with.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the sociological fallout of this divergence is inevitable. The text paints a picture of humanity violently splitting in two.
The baselines and the transformed.
Right. On one side, you have the baseline humans. They form the Terran Integrity Movement, led by a fiery academic named Dr. Helena Vasquez.
Her argument makes sense, honestly.
It does. Her argument is that this transformation isn't evolution, it's extinction by assimilation. They want to remain biologically, fundamentally human.
And on the other side,
you have the transformed, the people who have been infected by the pattern and view the cathedrals as doors to a higher, more enlightened state of being.
And caught right in the middle of this escalating nightmare are the Schism Angels.
The tragic figures of the story.
Yeah, these are individuals like Dr. Amara Osei, who's actually the descendant of the woman who found the first signal in the other story, which is a neat tie-in.
Very deliberate by the authors.
Right. Amara undergoes the transformation, but desperately tries to exist in both states at once. The angels try to act as translators and diplomats to prevent a total war between the baselines and the transformed.
But it's a tragic, impossible task. The human brain is not built to run two contradictory operating systems at the same time.
That's exactly how the text frames it. The mental strain of holding two completely incompatible realities in their minds causes the Schism Angels to literally fragment.
They break.
I want to read a specific part of Amara's journal from the text because it really grounds the tragedy of what's happening. She writes about the grinding exhaustion of holding contradictions together while they pull you apart. She says, I see the universe as a symphony of math, but I still remember how to cry. The space between those two truths is tearing my mind to shreds.
That is a powerful quote.
Feel the weight of that. Eventually, the sheer cognitive dissonance is too much. She just walks into one of the cathedrals and never comes back.
Yeah. The angels were trying to bridge a gap that was fundamentally unbridgeable. You have two factions of humanity becoming mutually incomprehensible to each other, and this localized tragedy scales up into a catastrophic event they call substrate collapse.
Yes, Cathedral 17 on the moon Enceladus. 23,000 transformed individuals are inside this massive reality wound when the structure just,
It gives way.
it completely collapses.
Yeah.
But they don't die in a conventional sense. The text describes them merging irreversibly into the quantum foam itself.
They become part of the background.
Yeah, another angel goes in to investigate the aftermath and finds the lingering remnants of Dr. Krasikov, the man who started the whole Calypso incident.
His ghost, basically.
Right. Krasikov communicates one last time, not in words, but in pure mathematics. His final message translates to, we're falling upward into complexity. The structure isn't a door, it's a gradient. And then he dissipates entirely into the background radiation of the room.
Which absolutely terrifies the baseline humans. They realize the structure doesn't care about human survival, human culture, or human sanity. It is just an unfeeling cosmic process.
A machine just running its code.
Exactly. This terror sparks a horrific 14-month war. And the warfare is brutal because it's entirely asymmetrical. The baselines use electromagnetic suppression fields and even deploy nuclear strikes to physically destroy the cathedrals.
And the Transform don't fight back with guns.
No, they don't need to.
They retaliate with forced transformations. They weaponize the structure fields, exposing 60,000 baseline humans to concentrated alien geometry against their will.
It is a fundamental breakdown of the empathy we saw in the first narrative.
It is horrifying.
The war doesn't end with a decisive victory. It ends with exhaustion. A cold, permanent partition of the solar system. Hard borders are drawn in the vacuum of space. You have humanity officially divided into completely different species, mutually terrified of each other, wearing the same ancestral name.
But the authors leave us with a chilling final detail that just drops your stomach. 200 years after the Calypso incident, after humanity has completely fractured, a new signal arrives from that exact same spot, 73 light years away.
The new transmission is brief.
So brief.
It translates roughly to, we see you, we see what you became, we're coming.
Oh, man.
The first structure, the one that broke humanity in half, was just a probe, a scout. The real creators are going to arrive in 47 years.
And humanity, divided, traumatized, and totally partitioned, is utterly unprepared for the architects of their nightmare.
Utterly unprepared.
It is such a gut punch of an ending. The source document concludes with these fictional authors' notes that really tie the two contrasting narratives together. The first author, credited as Pinnock's Esseling, is actually an anagram.
Right, for the Golden Age writers.
Yeah, it represents the optimistic fusion of classic sci-fi writers.
Yeah.
Isaac Asimov's clarity, Arthur C. Clarke's vastness, and Larry Niven's engineering. This author persona wrote the beautiful, collaborative galactic chorus story.
The optimist.
But the second author, A. Pinnock's Moff Keen, represents the residue.
The dark stuff.
The dark, horrifying cost of transformation that those optimistic Golden Age writers usually leave out of their stories.
This raises an important question. This dual authorship brings up a fascinating philosophical point, which the text explicitly addresses through a concept called Dr. Kenji Yamamoto's loneliness theorem.
Right.
Yamamoto posits that consciousness is fundamentally incomplete in isolation. An awareness knows it is aware, but it can never fully know its own boundaries without encountering another awareness.
A cosmic mirror.
Precisely. We reach out to the stars not just for scientific data, but because we desperately need a mirror to truly know ourselves. But as the residue author points out, sometimes that mirror doesn't reflect what we want to see.
No, it doesn't.
Sometimes encountering another consciousness doesn't build a bridge. It builds a chasm that swallows you whole.
So what does this all mean for you, listening right now? I mean, we might not be facing a glowing mathematical polytope from space or a reality-bending cathedral on Ganymede.
Probably not today, anyway.
Probably not today. But we all face moments where we encounter paradigm-shifting information. Think about your own life. When you learn something that completely shatters your worldview, a hard truth about your family, a revelation about your society, a disruption in your career, how do you handle it?
It's a great question.
You adapt, integrate that new truth, and build a bridge to pass that understanding down to the next generation? Or do you fracture under the weight of it, losing the ability to relate to the people who didn't take that journey with you?
It's a profound dilemma that applies to every scale of human experience. Both narratives in our source material show us that true discovery always requires a sacrifice of who you used to be. You cannot step into a larger understanding of the universe and remain unchanged.
You just can't.
Whether that transformation leads to a beautiful collaborative symphony of minds or a tragic isolated schism depends entirely on how we choose to handle the unknown, and crucially, how much grace we extend to each other in the face of it.
Growth always has a cost.
Yeah,
You just have to decide what you are willing to pay.
well said.
And I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over today, something that takes these ideas a step further. We've spent this whole time talking about what happens when we receive an alien signal.
Yeah.
But if the universe is full of these multi-scale interfaces and structural templates floating around,
Yeah.
is it possible that human consciousness itself was seeded by one of these signals millions of years ago?
Oh, that's interesting.
Right. What if the spark that made us self-aware wasn't a biological accident, but an ancient template we encountered in our evolutionary infancy, and we just forgot receiving it?
A forgotten first contact.
Exactly. Think about that the next time you look up at the stars. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.